Welcome to Solve It Like a Marketer, the Q&A episode. Yes, it's something different. It is Sunday evening here in Toronto, Canada, and I wanted to do a quick episode on basically covering some of your questions that you ask me on the channel. Typically, I do write out responses, but then I thought, you know what? Some of these questions might be of interest to all of you. So here they are. All right, let's start with one that I get asked over and over and over again, but I'm going to quote this one. So this is coming from a viewer, and she said, I've done a bachelor's degree in political science in India. It was a 3-year degree, but now I want to study public relations in Canada. I'm thinking of doing a diploma or graduate certificate. What do you think? Is it actually worth it? Okay, so from my experience, yes, it is. A lot of the students that I've had in marketing, especially when I was teaching in class pre-COVID at George Brown, a lot of them already had undergraduate degrees under their belt. And then they do a diploma or a certificate program specifically in marketing to kind of top up their education and really hone their skills. And a lot of them I've seen have gone on and been quite successful. I think that, degrees, say university degrees, are great. They teach us how to think. They teach us the basic building blocks of how to analyze, how to write properly. But a lot of times, university courses are not applicable in a practical sense. So being able to do a set of courses in a certificate or a diploma that's specific to your job search in marketing, I think is, because you've already got all of those analytical skills, it's about learning this field. It's about learning, retail marketing, analytics, segmentation, targeting, positioning, consumer behavior. What are all of these things? And then kind of building from there. And also figuring out, because marketing is huge, right? So figuring out exactly what you want to do in this absolutely brilliant field. Another question that I get asked all the time is, which are the best schools in Canada to study marketing, especially for those of you that are, say, in the Philippines or India? That's a hard question to answer because it depends on where in Canada you want to live. Now, I live in Toronto. I'm a little biased because I think Toronto is definitely a hub for education and job search. We have a lot of people and a lot of businesses flourishing in Toronto. It is not a sleepy city. And because of that, we've got some great marketing programs. So you've got places like Seneca, Humber, what used to be called Ryerson University. They renamed it recently to Metropolitan University, George Brown. So it's good to kind of do a little Google search and figure out, okay, so which are the schools that offer what I'm looking for? Diploma, certificate, whatever it is, right? Is it a full-time program you're looking for, or part-time, etc.? But then inside of that marketing program, what do they offer? So if you want to focus more on public relations, ultimately, do they have at least one course in public relations? Because some of them don't. If you want to focus more on social media, do they have social media courses? So take a look at that. Another aspect is that a lot of them have what's called full-time, and then they have what's called continuing education. I'm a big believer, well, I teach in continuing education, so I'm a big believer in continuing education. So even though you may need to do the full-time program, if you are a foreign student, for instance, and you need to be enrolled full-time, But ultimately, take a look also at what their continuing education classes also offer, because those may be able to fill in the gaps. You might find, I know the University of Toronto, for instance, has really great social media courses through continuing ed. Again, George Brown, where I've taught, they have continuing ed courses. So you can kind of also grab from those what you need. So maybe you want to be a designer. Maybe you want to create corporate videos. So, for instance, I know at George Brown, they have courses that will teach you, all the programs necessary and kind of some of the back theory of how to create corporate videos and do the messaging for that. So that's kind of a long answer, but lots to choose from. So the trick is to do your homework. Another question I had was, are there any good books written by Theodore Levitt? Now, way back when I first started this channel, I actually started the channel here in Canada in the first lockdown, of COVID. So I was kind of going out of my mind because I like to do a lot of different things simultaneously. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this YouTube channel thing. It'll keep me busy and I won't go stir crazy because I'm inside. And one of the first videos I did was on Theodore Levitt's theory of marketing myopia. If you haven't watched it, check it out. I think I got an update on that one, actually. So there might be 2 videos on my channel. Love this theory. I bring up marketing myopia all the time with clients because you know what? Most clients, whether it's nonprofit, for profit, whomever, when they're working inside the company, they tend to have blinkers on. They can't look objectively. And a lot of times my role as a marketing consultant is to be objective and basically combat that marketing myopia. So in answer to that question, yes, there's a few books that I jotted down: Marketing Imagination by Levitt, Innovation Marketing, and Marketing for Business Growth. Those are all good books that you can take a look at. All right, so I know I did a whole video on what is a marketing framework because I've been doing a whole series on marketing frameworks and the people that have actually created them, which actually I'm really enjoying because there are marketing frameworks out there I've never even heard of. So it's kind of cool, right? Because typically we just think SWOT analysis and that's it, but there's so many more to choose from. But this person asks, if I'm running a small business, which marketing framework should I use? Well, I'm all about simplicity. I mean, obviously, take a look at my videos because there are some pretty cool frameworks out there. But to be honest, the 2 that I would come up with is SWOT and STP analysis, segmentation, targeting, positioning. SWOT, I always typically think of as the first point of entry. So SWOT gives us what's called a situational analysis. It gives us kind of the overview, right? So if you're running a business or you're running a nonprofit or you're thinking of running a business, the SWOT is a good place to start because it will get you thinking objectively. So really thinking, okay, so what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Say your weakness is, I'm not good at accounting. Okay, good. You've identified that weakness. And then later on, you can think about, well, how am I gonna turn that weakness around? How am I gonna make that a strength? Maybe you'll take a course or watch some YouTube videos on marketing. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. There's always so many opportunities. But as we're starting a business, we're so wrapped up in, the messaging and gaining clients and getting our website up and running and networking that sometimes we forget there are even more opportunities. Are there conferences I could be going to? Are there classes that I should be taking? So listing out all those opportunities and then thinking about, okay, well, I can't do everything today. So, maybe come up with a 6-month schedule and think, okay, I'm going to try and knock these off in 6 months. Okay. It kind of gives you a bit of a roadmap. And then finally, threats. There are always threats. I don't know, the economy, another pandemic, right? Typically, these might be things you cannot control and that we hope won't happen. I mean, apparently we're going into another recession if we aren't even in one now. These are things we can't control, but it's good to think about it, right? A lot of companies, when we went into the pandemic and we went into lockdown, we had to pivot, right? My firm had to pivot. Back in the day, we used to do a lot of film production, mainly corporate videos. Couldn't do any of those anymore. And so actually we ditched that and now mainly working on strategy, branding, design, etc., right? Which you can do anywhere in the world. All right, so that's the upper level. But once you drill down, that STP analysis, segmentation, targeting, positioning, figuring out who are your segments, who are the possible customers that you could tackle, say in the first year, in the second year, in the third year. And then who do you want to target? So say, all right, right now, this is who I want to target. And then all your marketing should be thought of in those terms. And then positioning. So important to have positioning. One of my videos, we cover a positioning statement, really figuring out how you are unique in the marketplace. If you are a coder, or if you are a designer, okay, so you are among millions of others who are doing that same job. So what is it that makes you unique? Okay, so those are two of the frameworks that are kind of a go-to for me. So I know I've done videos on the 3 C's model, right? So customer, company, competitors. So typically when we're analyzing a company or thinking about starting up our own company, we think about who are the customers that we'd like to target. We think about the company ourselves. Typically, that's when we do our SWOT analysis. And then we think of competitors. Who else out there is doing kind of what we are so that we can get the upper edge? The question from this viewer is, does this model apply to nonprofits? Yes, it does. So I work with a lot of nonprofits. And what I do is I adjust this formula. So again, we've got customer, company, competitors. I take customers and I rename it. So those might be members of a nonprofit or maybe donors. So we reshape that. The company, well, that's a quick one. Organization. Typically, nonprofits think of themselves as organizations, not companies. And then competitors. The way I tackle this is I say that they have indirect competitors. Because typically when I run sessions, people say, no, we don't have competition. Well, you do. Because a lot of nonprofits say they are trying to gain membership or they're trying to gain donor dollars. Well, there are a lot of other organizations that may be doing similar things or offering similar things. Say it's healthcare. They are also trying to gain members or donorship dollars. So in a way, they are indirect competitors to you. If you're doing social media campaigns, these other organizations may also be doing social media campaigns. They're taking eyeballs away from you. So they are an indirect competitor. So answer yes, nonprofits, that does apply, this particular model. All right, next question. Do you have cats? Yes. 2. So typically how it works here is I wait until the cats are asleep in order to do my recording, so it's nice and quiet. I also live on a main road here in Toronto, so I try and wait till it's not too noisy outside. But occasionally, one of the cats goes, what's going on here? All the bright light and Stephen's talking really loudly. What's going on? So you might hear meows or even see a cat in the background pop his head out. So yeah, 2 black cats, and I can't always keep them out of control. Next question. Is that a piano behind you? Yes, it is. So Stephen wears many hats. Sometimes it's marketer. I'm also a musician. If you look me up, Google me, I have a composition website. I compose contemporary classical music. I also do voiceover, acting. I do all sorts of things. But yes, that is a piano behind me, that big black thing, if you're wondering. My final question that came up was more to do with how marketing is changing because of the pandemic. And is it going to be around? Or is marketing just going to disappear because things are just so crazy right now? You know what? Marketing, in my perspective, isn't going anywhere. There's always going to be either physical products or services that people want and need, or at least think they want and need, and people who are behind those products and services, who need to somehow make a link between the product and service to the people who need them, right? And that's marketing. You are giving them the information, and then maybe they're interested in buying or retaining that service. But again, I mentioned pivoting. I think in order to be an effective marketer in today's world, gone are the days of heavy marketing. It's buy, sell, sell, sell. It doesn't work anymore, and we have to think in terms of generations. So that particular approach may have worked, for instance, for the baby boomer generation, who is still around and still have quite a lot of disposable income. But now, with Generation Y, millennials, Generation Z, or Generation Z, we have to change. People are more skeptical. My generation is X, Generation X, and we're actually very skeptical of the hard sell. So I think this is where consumer behavior comes in. And, many, many marketers do not take consumer behavior seriously or don't take it into account. But I think that understanding the psychology of consumers is paramount, because that psychology is constantly changing. It changed during the pandemic. It changes during wartime. It changes depending on how old we are, what our background is, what our personal beliefs are, which continent we live in. These are all important variables to take into account. And then technology. I mean, we're constantly evolving. And really, it's up to us to be up on all the latest, say, social media technology. Even if we don't like it all, it's good to at least know what it does functionally, because it may be here and then gone tomorrow. But it's good still to see what's going on and these different forms of communication. And I think that's what makes marketing with a capital M, which sometimes has a bit of a negative connotation, so exciting. Because for me, I come from kind of, you've seen it, that sort of ethical standpoint. I believe as marketers, we can change the world. We have the power to change the world. So, for instance, with areas like sustainability, tackling climate change, we could make a difference. And so, yes, marketing isn't going anywhere, but I think it's important for us to think about as marketers, especially as you're getting into the industry, where do you want to see it going? What kind of impact do you want to make? Okay, that's it for now. You know what? If you've got questions, I've been getting questions constantly coming in. I tend to check them, say, once a week, but keep them coming because I can see what comes in. And then, you know what? I can always share them so that that other people can also participate and enjoy those questions as well. For now, I will catch you next time.